Hey, hey, welcome. I am Jill Moore Smith, also known as the Savvy Servant, also known as the Nonprofit Expert. So, if you are trying to start a nonprofit or grow your existing nonprofit, this is definitely where you want to hang out. Make sure you subscribe, share the videos, replay the videos, turn on your notifications because I am dropping all the information you need, especially if you are a founder and you are building a nonprofit that has existed 5 years or less. If you're trying to get funding, that big grant funding, this is where you want to hang out because my mission is to help founders position their nonprofits so that they can compete for that big six-figure grant funding. Um, so welcome, welcome, welcome. Just so you know, I am going to, this topic is a hot topic, and so I'm going to put some links at the bottom if you need additional assistance. One, I'm going to put the link down there that you can contact me so that we can do a one-on-one session, and I can help you get some things squared away. Very reasonable. I give you one whole hour, and in that hour, I give you a strategy, and you work your strategy, and I guarantee you that your nonprofit will be in a better position to go after that big grant funding. And Yeah. The other thing, I'll put the link down there for my Activate Toolkit because what I'm going to talk to you about today, there's some tools in there that you would definitely need. So I'll put a discount code on there as well. So just for YouTube, just for my YouTube people, I'll give you a good discount on the Activate Toolkit. So I got to remind myself to create a discount code. Hold on. Okay. Today, we're talking about how to purchase a vehicle under your nonprofit. How to purchase a vehicle under your nonprofit. Before I tell you how, let me just say this. The reason why I am in North Carolina is because a very lucrative nonprofit at that time, I think it was like a $20 million nonprofit, the new executive director called me in Maryland. She had known of my work and my expertise, especially working with the federal government and being in the nonprofit industry, doing internal, external relations. Now, this was back in 2014. She contacted me. She was taking the position down here in North Carolina as the new executive director of a $20 million nonprofit. And the reason why she was hired is because the former executive director was ousted by the board. Yes, he was ousted, and guess what? He was also the founder of that nonprofit. He had founded that nonprofit um, maybe 20 years prior, and the board, the legal allegations started coming out. Allegedly, so many different allegations were coming out. Allegedly, he was um, he had purchased a vehicle under the nonprofit and was using it for personal use. And allegedly, I've got to say allegedly. And one of the allegations, one of the stories from the public or yeah, it must have been from the public, said that they saw him um, use his he purchased an SUV under the nonprofit, and they saw him hauling his boat. He had a boat, and he would haul his boat um, on the SUV. And so it was a big scandal. I mean, a huge scandal. I'm not going to say names. I'm not even going to tell you the name of the nonprofit. You can Google it, but it was down here in North Carolina. But he was ousted. A new executive director came in, the person who contacted me. I was reproved by the board. The board did oust him from his own nonprofit that he founded. And they were about to lose a lot of their grant funding. there. They were. It was a. It was a. When I said it was a huge scandal, it was huge, and it was so ugly. It was a national scandal because he got federal funds. The nonprofit got federal funds. Most of their funding came from the federal government, big grants, and so yeah, it was all over the media, all over the news, and so I came down, had to do a lot of cleanup. We had to put some policies in place, enforce some policies, redo some things. And so this is what I want to talk to you about, because I know that um, you hear that you should, purchase a vehicle under your business. So I'm going to tell you, and this is your nonprofit, and you can purchase. And I mean, the short answer is this: yes, you can. You can purchase a vehicle under your nonprofit, but I'm going to tell you some things to get around this, some things that, as I said, I had to help that nonprofit put in place. And I want to share this here if you indeed want to purchase a vehicle under the nonprofit. At the end, I'm going to tell you my personal suggestion for you if you want to purchase a vehicle under the nonprofit. But let me tell you some of the things that I've worked with clients over the years when they are getting to the stage where they need a vehicle. Now, I am assuming that you have a public charitable nonprofit, not a private foundation, because it's some differences. Like you can get away with a lot of stuff for private foundation. So I'm going to assume that this is a public charity, a 501c3 public charity that you want to purchase this vehicle under. So there are three things, or well, four things really, but three main things that you need to do if you want to purchase a vehicle under your nonprofit. And these things, I'm telling you to do these things to protect you. All right. These things you need to do so that it can protect you. It can keep you out of jail. It can keep you out of a scandal. It can keep you out of losing your funds. It can keep you out of losing your grantors and your donors. And so I'm telling you these things. I'm suggesting that you do these things so that you can cover yourself. All right. So the first thing you need to know is you need to first know if you have the money to purchase a vehicle under the nonprofit. Does the nonprofit have the revenue? Now, it's one thing to have grant funds, but grant funds are usually limited, they're restricted. So you want to make sure that you have the funds, the revenue to purchase a vehicle, whether it's for a down payment or whether it's to make monthly payments, however you're going to purchase, however you're going to use the funds or need the funds, you got to make sure that you have the funding, the revenue, and I would suggest that you take it from your general fund, your unrestricted funds. And so a general fund usually is your fund that comes from individual donors, and that's why I stress building your individual donor database so that you can have funds, to make purchases, especially big purchases when needed. And so that's the very first thing. You cannot use, say you got these grants coming in, I don't care if they're foundation or government grants, you see all this money coming in and you say, okay, well, we can go ahead and buy a vehicle right now for whatever reason. You want to make sure you got the funds, and you want to make sure that the funds are coming from the right funding source. So I would suggest that the funds come from the general funds. Now I'm assuming, let me just go back, I'm assuming that you want to purchase a vehicle because you are the founder slash executive director, and maybe you need a vehicle to get back and forth to work or whatever, back to the center or what have you. Now if you need a vehicle for one of the programs, say if you have a after school program and or summer program from youth, and you want to purchase a utility vehicle or some type of minivan or what have you, then that could be under a grant per se, and it's probably because you have proposed to in that you have proposed in your grant proposal that you were going to purchase a van under that grant. But just to wake up and say, I want to, get a vehicle under the nonprofit. I'm gonna see if I can get, because it's probably I hear people say it's a good thing to put their vehicles under your business. But again, cover yourself. I would make sure that those funds are coming from a general fund, an unrestricted fund. Second thing is that you want to present the need for a vehicle to the board. You want to present the need for a vehicle to the board. Why? Because you want the board secretary to put it in writing in the meeting minutes that you went to the board about this vehicle. You want to make sure that you put it in the board and you get their vote on paper in the meeting minutes, yay or nay, that they approved this vehicle. And now let's just say that they say yes. I see you living all the way out in the suburbs and the center is in the inner city and it's doing a lot of wear and tear on your personal vehicle. Then yes, we're going to approve that you get this vehicle so that you can, get back and forth to the office. And so have all of that in writing. Have all of that, whatever your need is, why you need this vehicle, the purpose you're going to use for this vehicle. Make sure you present all of that at your board meeting, at the board meeting. The third thing you need to do is you need to make sure that there are policies in place. Make sure that there are policies in place. You need policies anyway. And so, as a business, especially if you're going to be hiring staff or even taking on volunteers, you need to make sure that there's order in how you are operating, and so that everybody's on the same page. Because this is where it's going to save you from lawsuits. And so, you want to have a policy in place. You definitely want to have a purchasing policy in place. How do you purchase things through your nonprofit? Does it require two signatures? If the purchase is over a certain amount, does it need a third signature, or can you sign checks and all of that great stuff? You need to have a policy in place. More than likely for anything that has to do with purchases or money, finances, it needs to have the signature of your financial person, your CFO, your accountant, whoever, not your board. Sometimes, in some cases, the board treasurer as well. But as far as the day-to-day operations and making purchases and things, do you need board? Policy for big purchases is like, you may say that we need to have, or the board may say that you need to have the treasurer's signature as well as the CFO or the financial manager in the operations part of the nonprofit. But the point is that you need to have a purchasing policy in place. You need to also have a vehicle intended use policy in place, so that everyone's very clear on how to use the vehicle that belongs to the nonprofit. Now, on a person, let me tell you something on it. I was just thinking about churches that's a whole nother subject, but churches who purchase planes, like these jets. Like, you purchasing this money with the tithes and offerings from the people, but they can't get on it. They can't use it. You want to have a policy in place about that vehicle. You know, will the vehicle be available for other staff if they're going to meetings? Like, what is the use for this vehicle? Again, covering you. We're covering you as a founder executive director. We're covering you. So you want to have a policy in place as far as vehicle use. Maybe the keys are with the treasurer and you got to sign out the keys. Whatever it is, you need to have a policy in place. And let me just do a plug. Down in the Activate Toolkit, there's a policy template. So you need to have all kinds of policies. If you need to know more about policies and setting up, because that's a board role in the beginning, that's one of the board's responsibilities, is to help you put some policies in place to get your nonprofit up and running. We definitely need to talk. Click the link in the bottom to schedule your one-on-one consultation with me. But you definitely need to put some policies in place, and definitely a purchasing policy, a vehicle use policy. Again, I can't stress this enough. These are paper trails that are going to cover you. These are paper trails that are going to cover you. And the fourth point I want to make is that try to avoid using the vehicle for personal use. Now, this topic came up in one of the Facebook groups that I'm a part of, and it's a pretty hot topic, because people want to know, can I purchase a vehicle under my business? Should I purchase a vehicle under my business? And your nonprofit is a business. However, the difference is that you don't own this nonprofit. So you got to be very careful. So in a grand scheme of things, it looks, good to have a vehicle that you're not personal liable for as far as um, the purchasing part of it. Because let's be clear, you don't have to pay taxes and all that great stuff because you purchased it under the nonprofit, but you've got to be careful about the use of it. So if at all costs that you can avoid personal use, say that the vehicle is they approve that you need a vehicle because you live, 50 miles out and it's a lot of wear and tear on your personal car. You stay at the center late, say, and you don't want your Mercedes Benz to be in the inner city, late at night. And so you rather have this little compact, affordable car or this SUV or what have you, where it doesn't draw a lot of attention. And so you feel safer in another vehicle. Yes, all of that. Put all of that in writing. Put all of that in writing. But once you bring that vehicle home, try to avoid as much as possible of using that vehicle for personal use. Because it takes one person, let me just tell you, takes one person who don't like you and they will run their mouth. They will run their mouth. And let me just remind you, a nonprofit is a public entity. So yeah, it's a lot of everything got to be disclosed to the. I mean, everything can be disclosed to the public, and so you don't want to take any chances of any of that. You want to make sure that you cover yourself. Now, my personal opinion, my personal suggestion to you: if you are the founder of a nonprofit, that is great. I applaud you, but I tell my clients all the time: make sure that you, as the founder, establish an LLC on the side. And it's a whole bunch of reasons why. And I'm not going to tell you why here, but one of the things that you can do is you can purchase a vehicle under your business, a LLC, that you own. That is you own it. And now you won't get the tax breaks for the vehicle, but it will be a business. It will be, you can it's more liberal for you to use your vehicle under your business for whatever use you need to use it for. Let me just say that. So it's very much more liberal than having it under a nonprofit. So I hope this helps. Please drop your comments. If you have questions, please drop them. I'll try my best to go back to the comments and read and answer as much as possible. So yeah, be careful with purchasing a vehicle under your nonprofit. Make sure you cover yourself. Put a paper trail out there, put policies in place, um, follow those policies that you put in place, follow those policies and make sure you cover yourself. Because the worst thing that can happen, um, one of the, like in the case with the guy that the nonprofit that I was consulting with, he was, you know, their grant funds, that I think they lost a lot of donors, but their grant funds was on the line. They had big federal grants that were on the line that was about to be revoked. Um, but that's not the worst thing that can happen. The worst thing is, of course, going to jail for misuse of funds. But seeing yourself all over, the news, just for mishandling or just for something innocent, for using a vehicle, you people know your heart, but then again, when you get out in the media for quote unquote misusing, the nonprofits property, that ruins your reputation. And so you definitely don't want to risk that. So I hope this helps. Again, if you want to speak further, click the link in my profile in my description so that we can chat further. All right. Um, I'll come back with some more. If y'all have some other topics y'all want me to talk about, make sure you let me know. You can email me, jill@thesavvyservant.com. And yeah, we can go from there. All right. You all be blessed. And I'm going to finish drinking my coffee. All right. Bye-bye.